I kind of want to sit there and stare at it, but we got to go to Lindsay now because we are in kind of a time constraint. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning. That was a really cool shot. I like that. We can maybe stare at that later. Maybe the view will change a little bit. But we are talking about stage makeup this morning, and we have an 18-year-old, Wes, and he's going to be turned into, well, half of his face is going to be turned into an older gentleman. Lenny Bart joins us now. This is not your normal makeup that you would use, that women would use to get ready.
Correct. This is all theatrical makeup, and there are supply houses around the country where you can pick up the different brands. Ben Nye is the brand I prefer.
All right, so what are we going to do to him today?
Well, what we're going to do is we are going to take half of Wes's face and we're going to do regular young age stage makeup to make him look good underneath the stage lights. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do the second half of the face, and we are going to make him into being a 47-year-old man. So what you will be able to see is through the use of highlights, shadows, wrinkles, some texturing, that even a young boy like Wes here, or I should say young man, can look like an older man.
Now, how is the makeup different than regular makeup? Why do you need to use different makeup for the stage lights?
Well, there are a couple of different brands. I prefer to use grease-based makeup. And basically, what's different about this is going to really set and work on your face once you do a heavy powder. And what's best about these is they're vibrant and they're very easy to work with. So you can blend and texture and do all kinds of interesting things with it and manipulate it much better than street makeup.
Okay, let's take a look at what you have here. Maybe start a little bit with the base.
So what we'll do is we're going to start with the base coat, and there are multiple different colors that you can utilize, again, depending on is a person, you know, someone who works in the sun, is it an upper class person who may stay inside and not get much sun. So again, some of these choices are based on the character, and that's basically what you also want to do. You're augmenting who this character is. So we just start with the base coat, and then at some point we'd move forward in and do the highlighting and shadowing, and then we would move into texturing with some of the different colors that we have going on.
Okay. Are you going to apply the base now, or are we going to put that? You're going to, oh,
yeah, I'm going to start with the base coat, and the very first thing that I do is I like to put on a layer of liquid soap. So what you're able to do then is create a protective seal on the face. This stuff can get a little bit you know, after a while, it can damage your skin. So this way, it serves two purposes. It puts a protective layer on your skin, and the second purpose is it'll come off very easily when you wash it. You know, because a lot of times the actors are going to go out afterwards, see their friends, and then they'll end up with a bunch of makeup still on their eyes.
Now, do you do the makeup for all the shows, or do you teach the actors how to do that?
I try to teach the actors, and for some characters during a show, I'll come back and get them started and whatnot. And so we want to offer makeup classes so all of our actors know how to do this art. So the very first thing we're going to do from this technique to help spread this is to give him polka dots all throughout his face. Okay? And this is, again, going to get rid of any irregularities in his face that the actor may have. You also want to make sure you're getting the hairline and the neckline. And then you can use a little sponge here to start spreading it. And I always like to start from the center and working your way out.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to get the eyes. You want to spread it up into the hairline. You want to get it all the way in. You want to get the tips of the ears so you can make sure you are able to have one skin tone color that is going on into the neckline. So quite often our costume and wardrobe people are upset because they have to scrub out makeup on the neck in between shows.
All right, I'll let you spread that on there, and we're going to keep him where he is. We're going to work on him a little bit more here coming up in the next half hour.
And see, I think it's funny because whenever you see this on TV or movies, I always think that that's to protect the clothes or whatever, but I saw Lenny wiping his hands on it, so it serves dual purpose, the little thing around the collar.
I think it's so interesting that they're spreading the soap on, because I was just going to ask, does this cause acne, breakouts, that type of thing, because it's grease-based?
Use an acne-based soap or an acne soap.
Ugh.
So, great. Well, we'll get a check of the forecast. You keep Wes in the chair, get him all duded up, and we'll check in with you guys in a little bit. Zone out for a little bit.
I love that.
Lindsay Boach is in the monitor, looks very confused. You
I'm
don't
trying to
want
smell the fresh air.
You don't,
It's
oh, you're
not
trying to
happening.
It's not there.
Yeah. No fresh air where you are?
Not like where the redwood trees are, I guess. We're in the middle of a dressing room here at the Quincy Community Theater, and we are turning an 18-year-old boy, not boy, I guess man, young man, into a 47-year-old man. And we're gonna walk over to Lenny Bart here, who's making makeup magic. So you've already done partially half of his face.
Correct. On this half of the face here, we laid a base coat on, and then we did a little bit of highlighting areas and then some shadow areas, and that gives contour to the face. And then we did just a touch of a cheek, but I'll apply a little more. Now what I'm going to demonstrate is contouring of the nose. We can make it look bulbous, we can take away a bulbous, we can do a number of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give him on this side a very clean, classical hero type of nose.
Okay.
So I have my makeup remover here, which allows me to manipulate the oil even a little bit better. And like a painter's palette, you know, quite often you can go in and blend and mix and whatnot. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of a line, a nice straight line, and then square off his nose. Then I will fan these back in off of that line.
And now to us right here, sitting right with him, it looks pretty dark. That's not gonna look like that on stage.
No, because you have to realize on stage, number one, even if you're standing right at the edge of the proscenium, you have about 10 or 15 feet to the very first person, and then you have another 50 feet going out. So what I like to do, because if I'm doing an old age character, and we'll see on his face, it looks very extreme close up. But if you open that door to the bathroom and you look at the mirror and you stand at this end of the hallway, you get a sense on how that reads on stage. Plus, once it's powdered, you'll see it really takes it down. So now what I do is I'll take and I'll blend this in, and I'll keep a nice clean line there. So now we've shadowed. We took over some of the curvature that Wes naturally has. I create a little bit of outline and shadow on that nose because the lights have a tendency to wash us out and make us look very flat and plain. So we want to contour. So just like I took some white here, I contoured the nose. I took some white along here to give dimension. I took just a touch of white to shape the chin. And again, you could very easily come in and do a touch of clown white on the edge here. So what you end up is, again, getting a very nice, clean, strong jaw. And again, if he's playing a young hero, you want that. You want that, you know, comic book looking jaw. So another thing we can end up doing there is tilt up. You can come underneath here and frame that. And this is a trick many of us, as we get a little older, will do. We can get rid of some of our waddle underneath our chin. Of course, Wes being young and attractive as he is, he doesn't have to worry about that so much. So we now have a clean jawline with a nice highlight there. I'm going to come back in and highlight his nose again. Oops.
And what is the difference between the stage makeup and normal makeup that I would put on my face or that another woman would put on her face?
Again, this is an oil-based makeup that allows you to manipulate it much easily. It allows you to blend colors in. And because of it being an oil-based, it has a deep saturation, and you can create a lot of effects that are going on there. And so as you can see right here, I can blend that black in, and I'll go in again to shadow there. And another subtle difference between stage makeup and street makeup is I shadow in along the eye contour. I give an eye shadow there. And again, I chose a light green for his eyeshadow because his eye color is kind of green, sometimes blue, so that looks kind of nice, and we'll show them out. And on stage, on the street, women will quite often do a lighter white color there to get rid of aged marks. But the lights on stage will take that and make that look puffy. And so it'll do the opposite effect. And so it's interesting to know those subtle differences, because a lot of times a woman might think, I put makeup on every day, I know what I'm doing. But there are indeed differences. So we have his shadow here, we have that there. The final step that we'll have is getting a nice youthful pink to his cheek. And again, what I'll do is I'll find where is his natural bone highlight. So I will go to his bone structure, And again, I'll give a little bit of a spot there, but to prevent him from looking like an 80-year-old woman going out to lunch with her friends, again, now we'll blend. And I will naturally find the contours of his face, just like I did the highlight there. When I did the shadow in here, I found a little hollow spot in there, and then I started with my shadow lines. And so now I'm blending again in. So you can see there's a nice natural blend between the highlight, the color cheek, and the shadow, which just contours and shapes his face to be nice and young.
Great. Well, it looks good, and we're going to actually, on the other half of your face, we're going to turn him into a 47-year-old man. So we have half of it young, we're going to have half of it old, and that's coming up in the next half hour.
Face from Batman.
I've got a question for you, Lindsay, if you can hear me. Is there anything, as far as women like us who put on makeup every day, is there any lessons that we can take from stage makeup to make ourselves look more youthful?
Melissa wants to know if there are any lessons that we can take for just women on TV or women in general.
Women in general, just if there's something we can do or place to make our eyes more wide set, make them look larger, make our noses look small, that type of thing.
Are there things that we could do with normal makeup that can make maybe our eyes look bigger or make us a little bit more youthful?
Absolutely. As you can see here, I created a little line which will, number one, extend his eye over. Then I took his shadow here and I brushed it up. And so again, it sweeps the eye open. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a touch of a highlight there. So now again, it's looking a little open. Now on stage, what some women will do, and this is a female trait that men shouldn't do, and this is more for grand opera, they'll come in and they'll put a white dot in this corner here. And what that will do is that will extend the opening of the eye. So when their eye is open on stage and they have heavy shadow going on in there, again, it gives the eye appearance of a larger opening. So on the street, you can do some of those subtle things with your blending. As a matter of fact, we can look right in here. We already have a little bit of the higher shadow and the darker shadow to make her eye pop. And again, that's what it's really all about, is finding the natural contours and making them pop and looking to find ways to get rid of what some of our personal defects are. Of course, Lindsay, you have none, so.
Okay. Too kind. I'm paying him to say that.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. This morning we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at stage makeup.
We've been turning a young man into an old man this morning, and Lindsay is getting the heads up on how it's done.
We're going to show you how I went from a 25-year-old woman to a 32-year-old man when we come back.
Well, the last time we checked in with Lindsay Boach, it wasn't Lindsay Boach. It was a man that looked like Lindsay Boach with the wig, at least. You've changed a
I
lot.
hope that I didn't look like that.
No, he
the
was
man
trying.
had gray hair, quite a bit taller than me.
He was trying to impersonate
and a beard, not to mention. But we are turning an 18-year-old into an older man, and he actually looks like a little bit older than 47 years old. We're going to check in with Lenny Bart to see where he is at in this transformation, I guess.
Well, what you can see if we look this way, perhaps, we'll go this way. We're creating a much different nose here. I've augmented and accented a bulge that he has. I put extreme highlight there to make that look bulbous at the bottom. You can see, raise your eyebrows again. So what I do is I naturally find the natural contours of his line and now relax it. You can see how dark it is here. So what I'll be doing now is as I add the highlights to the few remaining lines here, I go up above the line that you have naturally, and that will give it a highlight. The light will take that. And then you always want to blend. And again, this is why I like this. Look at how beautifully that just blends and allows you to sort of edge your line. Along here, I've given some of those crow's feet to, again, age him. And underneath the eye, I've given him shadow and a little bit of pocket. And as you can see, I use the highlight and shadow there. I've also done a little bit on the lips to make the lips feel as if they have gotten scrunchy. And again, you can blend it right there. And then a little bit of highlight along the shadow line there again. I put extra highlight on the chin to make it bulge and stand and whatnot. And again, here we'll still want a little bit of color, but I'll go with something that's a lighter pink than his healthy, youthful pink. So this has a little bit of a sicker feeling like that, and I won't blend it so much up. I'll just give it just a little bit of contour. Now again, if his character were sickly or something, maybe we wouldn't put any color in. And it looks semi-extreme right now as you have it, but this is the best part. Once we begin to do our little blending and bringing things down, it softens everything, as you can see going on there. And now we have a really interestingly shaped nose. So the next thing is that you want to make sure is you're going to set it. And again, as you see, for his youthful, I changed him. I made him a little blue shadow there and a little bit of a green shadow there. So that looks a little sicklier going on. So now when I come in and I powder, this will set the makeup and prevent it when he sweats from it getting wiped off and spread or whatnot. And it goes heavy like this, so watch the lens. I don't want to get any powder in it because and this is the old joke you've seen on those cartoons with Bugs Bunny. Makeup, boom, that's what they do. Whoa. Get it on nice and heavy, you get everything of it. Sorry, I should have warned you, Seth. I'm a Wes. Why do I keep calling him Seth? Okay, so now you get a nice big brush and you remove it off, get rid of your excess makeup, powder.
And there we go.
There we go.
And you said before that this, yes, it does look pretty drastic, but when you are on stage and you're, 50 feet away, this doesn't look as drastic.
Right. I mean, if we even took the camera right now to the edge of the room, you would see it wouldn't look so bad. You can also tell I took a regular home toothbrush and I'm getting that in all the white. And what I can do here now is I can give him that distinguished gray that some of us in that age group have. So you have this distinguished gray, and when you have that powder going on there, you see if you compare him to some of my lines, they're pretty similar looking right now. And this powder will absorb, so he'll look less ghost-like. And there are different colored powders that you can go in. So I went with a lighter one to give him an older feel, as opposed to a fair, like for the youthful side, I would have powdered there with that fair, and a woman would use the pretty pink to give her a nice flesh color. So again, you have a full palette of colors to choose from to make that happen. And then you also have some additional items that you could use using crepe hair, simple hair like this that you apply to a little bit of a cheesecloth material, and you can put on. You can give him a beard.
Half a beard for half of his face.
Right. You can give him a mustache, or as some of your viewers already saw, you can give a little wig if he were to be an older character completely. And of course, I'm just throwing this on, and we would attach it with a staple gun usually. Oh, no, I'm joking.
Scared me for a second.
So again, as you look right now, you can see that difference. This is Wes, our young 18-year-old man. And you can see the youthful side of him where you have a nice gentle contoured face bringing up the nice exciting looking parts of him versus the older part where we create a bulbous looking nose. And there's all kinds of things you can do. I created a quick little bruise right here. Wow. So this is like if he had wiped out on a bike or something like that, using purples and reds and yellows. And there's a brush which I somehow don't have. It's a stipple brush. It gives it texture. For his old man, I would also put a little red texture on his nose and his cheeks if he were like someone who had been perhaps drinking or something. But texture, highlights, shadows, contour, using the lights to help augment, because as the lights come in at this angle, when you look at those lines, it really will shape him well. And I'm wondering, Mark, if we can maybe get him from a distance. Oh yeah.
We have one more little thing at the end of the show. We'll get you. We'll put these viewers on suspense right now. We're gonna show that here, and a little bit later on at the end of the show.
Good. And see, it takes me a long time to get my distinguished gray on my temples every morning.
You could just apply it with a
toothbrush.
Yes, yeah, toothbrush works well. So does Mother Nature.